Hi, this is Dr. Cliff Gruncheth coming to you with another Spine West, Dr. Cliff's Riffs. Today we're going to revisit numbness and tingling. We talked a little bit about this in the past with peripheral neuropathies and balance, but there seems to be a strong interest in how nerves work and what to do about numbness and tingling. So I thought I would give you my overview of what it means if you have some type of altered sensation. So the nervous system is complicated, as you know. It involves the brain, spinal cord, all the peripheral nerves that go down into your limbs, including the nerves that go into your arm and nerves that go into the spine and down through the sciatic nerve, mainly through the sciatic nerve, into your legs. Anywhere along that pathway can be involved, causing numbness. And so the key thing about tingling and numbness is that implies nerves. If sometimes that you can have sore muscles and you can sit wrong and your leg goes to sleep, and when it starts to wake up, it tingles, feels funny because you compressed the vascular supply, and therefore the whole limb will go numb. But when you've got numbness that's pertaining to nerves, not because there was a temporary block of the blood supply, but rather there's something wrong with your nerves, that really should be worked up. Nerves are very interesting little organs. They have a covering around them. It's called myelin. And that myelin lets the electricity that runs through the nerve jump very quickly down some nerves. Some nerves have no myelin in them at all. And so those nerves typically are pain fibers that move much slower. The myelinated nerves travel at about 2 meters per second. The unmyelinated nerves go about 2 meters per second. So if you kick the bottom of a sofa table, or a leg of a sofa or a table, it takes about 2 seconds to get to your brain before you really start to feel it. However, if you feel something under your foot, if you're walking barefoot, you step on a nail or something sharp, the speed of the myelinated fibers will go very quickly. They go at 50 meters per second, which is about half a football field in a second, very, very quickly. So it is the nerves have different functions, and some of them cause different types of sensations. The nerves are made of many smaller nerves. So each nerve is almost like a cable of wire. And inside of that cable are many different nerves. Some control your muscles, some control your blood supply, and some give feeling to the body. So if you start to think about where do you begin when you have numbness, we usually first start with the brain and work our way down to the end of the limb, or we start with the end of the limb and work our way backwards to see if it has a pattern for the distribution of your numbness and tingling. If we start from the brain and we work our way down, injury to the brain oftentimes affects a geographic or a large area. So if you have numbness in half of your face, that is usually something that's going on inside the skull, and it may imply that you've got poor blood flow or something going on that's affecting the nerves or the brain that processes the sensation in your head. That is a big deal because that may imply stroke, impending stroke. It can also be associated with different types of diseases like trigeminal neuralgia that affects the cranial nerves that give feeling to your face and your tongue. There are some peripheral nerves that can be affected inside the skull besides the nerves that originate in the brain. As we work our way down, you start to get into this regional limb type of numbness. And that can involve either the part of the brain or it could involve the spinal cord, which may affect an entire right side of your body, maybe one limb, your arm or your leg. Again, that's part of the central nervous system, which involves the brain or the spinal cord, and those are major, major issues that need to be evaluated right away. If you have more of a regional or local numbness, say in your hand, then that oftentimes implies the peripheral nervous system. The nerves that after they exit the spinal cord, they branch out into different zones and they'll track to different fingers, different areas of the arm and forearm, and they cause some specific type of localized numbness. In this view, you can see this peripheral nerve going down to the back of the thumb, maybe to the index finger. So that type of distribution can help us determine where the pain may be coming from. Carpal tunnel is a classic example. Carpal tunnel is nerve compression at the wrist, and that affects the thumb, the index, the middle finger, and half of the ring finger usually. So the thumb side of the ring finger is affected, the pinky side is not affected. So that distribution, by definition, having the half of the ring finger numb and the other half not numb, implies immediately carpal tunnel syndrome. Down in the leg, you've got the sciatic nerve, which is the major nerve that goes down into the back of the thigh and the leg. And that is really an aggregation of different spinal nerves that blend together. They go down, they control the muscles, and they give feeling to the leg. And depending on where in your leg you have altered sensation, like if you have numbness on the outside of your leg, that tends to be the fifth lumbar nerve. If you have it on the top of your foot, that can be the fourth or the fifth lumbar nerve. If you have it in the back of your leg or in the bottom of your foot, that tends to be the first sacral nerve. So the stripes that develop in numbness can tell us what's affected. Is it coming from the spine? Is it a pinched nerve that's irritated by something higher upstream? Is it a local compression? Sometimes people who cross their legs will get a little bit of compression at the outside of their leg, causing some numbness down on the top of their foot. And sometimes there's just numbness right in the first little web space between your first and your second toe. That has its own nerve that can sometimes tell us where the problem originates. If both your feet are involved, if you have numbness and tingling in all your toes or in the distal feet or in both feet or in both fingertips, that implies more of a generalized process, and that's called a diffuse polyneuropathy, which means that all the long nerves of your body, the ones that originate up in your spine, they go all the way down into your feet, which are about half your height. So if you were 6 feet tall, those nerves are about 3 feet long. And so they're very vulnerable to injury and causing some little bit of tingling and sensation. But if it's symmetrical like that, that is a more generalized process than this localized stripe-based numbness that we talk about. And when you have peripheral neuropathy, oftentimes you'll have this kind of altered sensation on the bottoms of your feet or on your toes. Sometimes it feels like it's covered with cotton, just not quite as sensitive, or you can be painful when you feel like you're just getting these little zappy feelings in your skin. It can be the whole gamut. It goes from mild, from like fluffy, poor feeling to tingling, and then to pain, and then it actually goes to progressive numbness right up the leg for a generalized peripheral neuropathy. How do we test for it? Well, there's different types of modalities. In this case, it's a tuning fork or vibration, and those test very specific nerve fibers that go up through the foot to the leg, to the spinal cord, up to the brain. And if the vibration sense is decreased, that implies that the vibratory nerves of your feet are not working well. Sometimes we'll use something sharp. We have a pinwheel, or some doctors will use actually a little pin, just a little pin that they'll poke on the skin. They won't penetrate the skin, but they just poke on it and see if you can feel sharp. And then the other sensation you can have is coldness, temperature. Sometimes these tuning forks are cold, and the temperature is a different set of nerves that you can screen for just with the physical exam. To get fancier, you can use what's called electrodiagnostics, where we put little sensors on your skin, we stimulate the nerves, we record what they show, how well they conduct electricity, and also the size of the response that you produce when we stimulate the nerves. So that's a fancier test that can sometimes be helpful for determining what kind of numbness or what kind of neuropathy you have, and also what the degree of neuropathy, how bad is it, that you can test. What's the treatment? Well, there's no real long-term treatment, despite what you might read in the paper or hear on radio or television. There's no specific treatment for neuropathy itself. The key thing is to find out what's causing the neuropathy, if you can. Is it compression of a nerve? Is it a generalized nerve disease? Is it something squeezing in the spine? Is it the spinal cord, or is it signs of the brain not processing the signal well? So anywhere along the nerve axis, brain, spinal cord, peripheral nerves, needs to be figured out by a professional to determine what the treatment is. Sometimes we don't know the source. We turn over all the rocks, and at the end we say we just don't know. Sometimes it's just seasoning and maturity, birthdays, whatever you want to call aging. The preferred treatment, if you have altered sensation, is to maintain your balance and exercise, because that does improve health and longevity, and really to keep moving as best you can, within the reasons of what you can do. If you have specific numbness or tingling and you're not sure what's going on, it's best to get it evaluated. But again, the goal is to try to enjoy life, enjoy the surroundings, and if you have any questions, just give us a call. We'd be more than happy to evaluate and see what's going on with your numbness and tingling. Hope that's helpful for you. We'll see you again next time. Take care.